You know that big metal box outside your house? The one that's always humming in the background? We pretty much ignore it, right up until the day it stops humming. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on the invisible war being fought against your home's HVAC system. And trust me, it's a battle you're going to want to understand. Think about it. It's always the most brutal, scorching day of the summer or a truly bone-chilling night in the middle of winter. That's when you hear a weird clank, or worse, just total silence. And you're standing there thinking, seriously? Of all the days, why today? It honestly feels like the universe has a personal grudge against your comfort. But what if I told you it's not bad luck at all? Not even a little bit. It's actually the super predictable outcome of an intense year-round battle. See, your HVAC system is on the front lines, and its enemy is the very climate you live in. The day it fails, that's just the day it finally lost a fight it's been waging all season long. So, to really get why these systems fail, we have to understand the battlefield. And for your HVAC, it's basically fighting a two-front war. There's the summer campaign, and then a completely different kind of fight in the winter. And what's so fascinating is how each season attacks the machine in a totally different way. In humid places, summer is just this grueling marathon. The system can run for like 7+ months under the strain of that, soul-crushing humidity. It just wears down parts and clogs up drains. But then winter comes along with this freeze-thaw whiplash, where wild temperature swings put all this stress on totally different parts, like the valves and defrost controls on heat pumps. The poor thing never, ever gets a break. And you know what? The climate isn't the only enemy here. Your house itself can actually be an unwilling accomplice. Older homes, they might have ductwork that's way too small, which basically chokes the system and makes it gasp for air. And get this. Brand new, super efficient, airtight homes can sometimes trap moisture inside, creating a whole different kind of problem for the system to deal with. So how does this constant battle actually show up in the real world? Well, eventually, parts start to break. Let's dig into the actual red flags, the warning signs that tell you your system is starting to lose the fight. When you really get down to it, almost every major failure can be traced back to one of three culprits: moisture, electrical stress, or airflow restriction. Remember those three, because they're the root of all evil when it comes to HVAC breakdowns. So here's how those three root causes actually mess things up. You see frozen coils on your unit? That's a classic airflow restriction problem, and it's often caused by something as simple as a dirty filter. Those disgusting drain clogs? That's a direct result of moisture, letting algae and gunk grow until you get a blockage, and maybe even water damage. Failed capacitors are a perfect example of electrical stress. These little parts that help the motor start are basically baked to death by the intense summer heat. And even refrigerant leaks often come back to that constant battle. The vibrations just slowly wear away at the system's connections. Okay, so you've spotted a red flag. Your system's down. It's time to call in the reinforcements, a professional. But what should a good service call actually look like? Knowing what to expect can save you a world of headaches. A trustworthy repair process should always be logical and transparent. It starts with just clear communication and scheduling. But step 2 is the most important part: a complete diagnosis. A good technician doesn't just fix the frozen coil. They act like a detective to figure out why the airflow was restricted in the first place. Then, and only after you approve the work, they should fix it, and then test everything to prove the problem is really, truly solved. And here is the absolute crucial takeaway. There should be zero surprises. You should always get a clear explanation of what's wrong and exactly how much it will cost to fix it before you give them the green light to do anything. If a company is pressuring you or being cagey about pricing, that's a massive red flag. Now, let's talk about the big question every homeowner eventually faces. Do you keep patching up an old, tired system, or is it finally time to replace the whole thing? Turns out, there's a simple little tool that can help you make a smart, data-driven decision. It's a handy rule of thumb called the $5,000 rule. Now, the number itself isn't magic, but the idea behind it is. It's just a simple benchmark to help you avoid throwing good money after bad on a system that's already on its last legs. Okay, here's how it works. You take your system's age, in years, and you multiply it by the estimated repair cost. So let's say you have a 12-year-old system, and the repair is going to be $500. You multiply 12 times 500, and that gives you $6,000. Since that number is over the $5,000 threshold, the rule suggests that replacing the system is probably the smarter long-term investment. And here's why that $5,000 number makes sense. A full system replacement can cost anywhere from $5,000 to $12,000, sometimes even more.
The rule is basically designed to stop you from spending a huge chunk of that replacement cost just to put a temporary Band-Aid on an old, dying unit.
And this right here is why age is such a critical part of that formula. Remember that two-front war we were talking about? Well, here's the long-term price. In a nice, moderate climate, a system might chug along for 15, maybe 20 years. But in a high-stress, humid climate, that constant battle can literally shave years off its life, bringing the average down to just 12 to 15 years. The war just wears the machine out that much faster.
So, as we wrap this up, it's worth asking yourself this question. Now that you know your system is in a constant fight with the elements, is it really armed and ready for the next heat wave or the next deep freeze? Because being proactive and thinking about the stuff now is the absolute best way to make sure you never have to find out what it's like on the worst day of the year.